sometimes early days. I try to leave by 5 o'clock. I like to leave about 4:45, but we're running, I hate to say behind schedule, but early. People commented last night that put last videos, or see, look at that, already tired. I put last night's video out early. A lot of nights, how most of my days unfold, I'm up at least by 5, and I try to leave the house, around 5, there shortly after. Then I don't get home till 7:30 a lot of days from work. So when I get home, the absolute first thing I do, because I usually eat in my truck because it's some kind of fast food, junk food that's probably not healthy for me, but so goes the bachelor life. So when I get home, I immediately start working on a YouTube video, putting it together. Then like last night, as soon as I got it ready to upload, I put it to upload and I was in bed. So I was in bed about 8:30 last night, which is kind of early for me, but I'd been tired the last few days, and I knew today was going to be a fairly long day, so I just went to bed early and let it upload, and I'm sure it uploaded probably before 10 o'clock last night. But anyway, to work we go. My dad went to scour the countryside looking for timber, which I think he already knows where some's at. Years ago, my dad used to cut a slug of timber in this area back in the 70s and 80s. He worked this area right where we're at pretty hard. Still pretty familiar with a lot of areas, a lot of landowners. And it makes it nice, the repeat business, stuff like that. And now it's nice that I get to meet some of the clients my dad had all those years ago, that I'm getting to go in there and meet their children and their grandchildren, and hopefully establish a long-lasting relationship with them. So right now, we're getting ready to do some cleanup. I've got a few hours of cleanup I want to do here to get things slicked up and looking nice. It's a lot better picture of that log pile in the sunshine than it was at night, wasn't it? Anyway, just fueled up, let the machine warm up. We're going to do a little greasing real quick. I still haven't pulled the trigger on that electric grease gun, guys. I need to. And here in just a minute, I'm going to really wish I would, because greasing's always a mess anyway. After that, I've got some DEF. We're going to fill the skid steer up with DEF. This thing really, really drinks the DEF fluid in the diesel. The only complaint I have so far about this machine is just fuel consumption and DEF consumption. For you guys that are unfamiliar with DEF, that is diesel exhaust fluid. It's what your newer diesel engines have over, like on your equipment, I think it's over, somebody's going to correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say if you're over, 75, 80 horsepower, you've got to have a Tier 4 compliant engine. Like on our diesel trucks, they've had DEF fluid since 2011. And the last couple of skid steers I have had all DEF fluid. So we'll grease, get that thing warmed up. We're going to go down here across the creek, do some cleanup over there. I want to get all that slicked up and looking good. This bottom is looking fabulous. That really looks good down there. Toot my own horn again, but it really looks good. That's a joint effort with the landowner. He's got a tree puller. He's got a new 332G tired machine, and they've got a tree puller and a shear, and they're really cleaning the place up. But then we got in there with the track machine and the bucket and kind of helped out again on that cleanup. And we're going to go over there, make sure that crossing's still looking good. Hopefully it's settled a little bit over the night, kind of firm up. We'll push some tops around, do a little uproot and piling some brush over there ourselves just to help out. Now when we started over here, you really couldn't even get through here. It was really overgrown and a mess. And of course cutting some of these big trees really opened this up. So now what I'm doing, aside from getting some of these limbs and stuff cleaned up in here, I'm going through and I'm taking the bucket and I'm uprooting some of these hedge trees. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to make a little more pasture for their cattle. And this is not something that I was asked to do. This is not part of the deal, cutting the timber, but it's just something I want to do. Yeah, the cleanup, I always try to do a good job on my cleanup, but as far as coming through here cattle. And if we can go through here and make this look nice for them, it's just all that much better. Really wish I had the gravel. Such a strong root system on them. Like this one in front of us here, we're getting ready to push out. Sometimes you got to gouge in the ground a bit, and you just take the dirt and you try to backfill, cover those holes up. This 333 will muscle them out of the ground though. Travis Shake, which if you're watching Travis, I'm sure you've got the popcorn out just waiting for you to bust the windshield out of this. Travis tells me I need to just bite the bullet and buy the plexiglass front door for it, and I really do, especially doing this stuff because, as you guys know, as Travis very well knows, I'm just kind of working on borrowed time here until I bust this glass out of this thing. That's one thing I will say, the 299 cats come stock or standard with the plexiglass or Lexan front door, where the Deere didn't, and I didn't know that. If I would have, I'd have went ahead and ordered this thing with the Lexan door. A lot of times we'll just kind of windrow some of this stuff, kind of centralize it, then we'll get behind it and push. You operators out there probably calling me every name under the sun because they're like, well, yeah, you don't know what you're doing. Yeah, you're right, I know. I just kind of wing it. But it's got me this far on the operating equipment winging it. So I guess I'll just ride it out a little further yet. Trying to decide where I want to go next. Get back over here and try to work our way around. So we got another pile right over here. Might have to bring the skidder over here for this one. Maybe not. See if we can't get one of these locusts out of the ground here. Which I know we can, because we've been taking several of them out. I mean, this 333 is a horse. Tom's what I'll do here is we'll just kind of break them over. Once I do that, I can hear the bucket. We don't do that root system. Try to dig under here. Of course, this would be the one to make me look like an idiot. Knocking the camera down. You're just trying to work them out of the ground there. Once you kind of get that root system exposed like that, you can get under here. I can get that. I'll try to shake them real good. Get all the dirt off there. I know you're getting jumbled around here. We'll just get them off to the side, and we'll get them behind them and push them up the pile. Guys, that looks pretty good. Considering when we started this job, you couldn't hardly walk through here. Just the brush, the hedge, the locust. I spent quite a bit of time this morning uprooting all that stuff, putting it in piles. Now, don't get me wrong, my piles aren't the greatest, but all in all, man, I think this looks pretty good, especially for having a bunch of timber cut out of here. I mean, yeah, there's treetops, and I've went through here and I've tried to pile my brush up the best I can, which in these timbered areas, you got to be very careful piling your treetops. A lot of times, we don't pile treetops when you're deep in the timber, which this wasn't too bad. It was fairly open. And the reason why we don't pile treetops or try to pile treetops when you're in dense timber is because a lot of times when you're trying to do so, you scar up and do more damage to your residual trees than you actually do good. So it's a double-edged knife, it really is. But all in all, I think this looks pretty good. It's definitely not my best piling job ever, but circumstances, I really think we've done a good job here. Patting me and Dad on the back there quite a bit, but good harvest. A lot of good young trees coming up. They're going to have a good future crop of trees. Not only that, they've got a good creek access, which we'll go down here in just a second, look at that. But, you know, this will start producing grass, and I could keep going on pushing this stuff up. But like I said, they've got a brand new 332 wheeled machine. They've got a tree puller. They've got a tree saw. They bought up the intent of cleaning up their place, which they've got several acres here. But I don't want to steal all their thunder for them. We'll come back and hit this log road up a little bit, kind of even it out. Luckily, everything, no wet weather, so everything was pretty solid the whole time. We did kind of track a little bit. You can see some slight ruts there. They're not major, but that's just from the overall weight of those trees on those narrow 18.4 tires on the 440C. Now, right here's where the creek crossing is. This crossing was already here. It was already put in place. We just opened it up for them. This is where we crossed, and after we crossed with the skidder and all those heavy drags, it kind of wallowed it out a little bit. So out there in the middle, solid as a rock. It's all shale packed down there real good. So last night, what I did after we cut all this back out, I kind of re-sloped it and re-angled it. I went down there to that little gravel bar on the lower end and got several scoops of that shale, and I put right out there in the front. That way it'll start packing in there, make a good solid crossing as well. But they'll be able to cross here with their tractors, the skid steer, side-by-sides, whatever they want. Pickup. Dad was driving across here the other day in his truck. So, good crossing. But I really do, for all things considered, I always wish I had before and after pictures. When I get to the after, I never think about that before. But definitely a lot different look over here. I think it really opened it up, really looks good. Said trying to be careful, not do too much, because not to damage too many trees, because the walnut just kind of grows along this bend in the low area right here. Now over there, it's all pasture ground. It's all grown up in hedge and locust sprouts, which that's where their tree puller really shine over there, because they've done an excellent job of clearing over here where our log deck was. Here's a stump right here along the ground, flush. Pretty happy with it, guys, pretty happy with it. You know, this job we're on, what got us this job was just the cleanup we did on a job a few weeks ago. I guess everybody and their brother had been trying to buy this timber for years. It's not like we knew about it, because we didn't. They seen us over there one day. They seen the job we did on the cleanup. They stopped in, talked to us, told us to come look at it, and here we are. Well, you know, your reputation is everything in logging, and if we didn't, I like to think if we didn't do a bang-up job with our jobs, we wouldn't still be buying the timber we buy today. So the least I can do is come in here and try to do a bang-up job on the cleanup of this. It's just about got us wrapped up for the job, so we're gonna jump in the machine, head in. I'd like to hear their final thoughts on everything, and then we'll get machines ready to move out and start one next week. Now, all in all, these logs were kind of Heartbreak City. They had a lot of problems with them just due to their age, but 18Bs or Bs18, I think is the username. Well, the first tree, this was the first tree I cut this week, Monday, and you can see here it's full of honeycomb. There's a lot of honey in there, but the odd thing was there was no bees, which I know that because usually when you bother these guys, they come after you. But this thing was just full of honey. It goes up in there quite a ways. But yeah, no bees at all. Have no idea where they are. Honestly, didn't go looking for them. Now my hands are going to be all sticky. I've seen more bee trees this fall and winter in the area we're working in than I've probably seen my whole life. And every one of them has been in a walnut tree. But that was in the very top of that tall tree. But seriously, no bees anywhere. Full of honey though. Yeah, we can go through this set of logs. It seemed like everything we cut, you know, there'd be places like that in them. Just riddled with trouble. A lot of wind shake in these logs. We've had a lot of trouble with wind shake in the last couple weeks. It's been one of those things that's plagued us. Now, that's not to say there wasn't some good logs in this bunch, because there was. But at the same time, we ran into if I can find it, yeah, right back here. This was a prime example. This big log here. I mean, it looked really good, but lightning scar goes all the way to the butt of it, which you can kind of see the old scar if you look on the log. Good log, just problems. Just a lot of these big trees, a lot of problems with them. That's what you get with old timber. Old timber is not always all it's cracked up to be. Here's a good example of wind shake. You can see right here where the rings are separating in the tree. It'll go all the way around that growth ring there. So what makes that bad is when they go to saw that into lumber, those boards won't hold together because those rings aren't staying together. So the boards will fall apart. Now they'll still get some side lumber, but what it does, it kicks these high-end trees down to much lower grades because, well, you can't slice something like that. And you're lucky to even pull lumber out of it. Some you can't pull lumber. It'll just fall to pieces when you start sawing it. Lightning was a big problem with a lot of these trees, old trees. Yeah, just here's another example of real bad wind shake right here. See, the rings are separating. And Dad and I were talking about that this morning. It's just, we've seen more wind shake in the last couple of weeks than we've seen in a long time. We actually had a lot of logs that got kicked out today. More wind shake right there. Holes in the logs. Just old trees. Old trees and lots of problems. Stuff like this, going bad in the heart. Still a really good set of logs just for the size. But if they hadn't had so many problems, they'd really done a lot better. But we're happy to have them, and nobody can change that. The problems that occurred in them, I mean, that's just part of nature. A lot of it is they were just trees that should have been harvested years ago. And that's what happens when you let your trees go too long. You may think you're doing yourself a favor, you're really holding back and waiting for the right time, but when trees are in their prime, that's the right time. Because what's going on the inside of those trees, we can't always see. And then a lot of times people wait too late on their sets of trees, especially on big sets of trees. So harvest accordingly. You know, don't just hold back thinking like, man, you know, one of these days it's gonna be my retirement. It doesn't always work that way. Manage properly. Hey guys, if you like what you see, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for all of our latest videos.